Hi, YouTube. We're gonna, let's twist it just a little bit that way so we can see the screen a little bit more. A little bit more. Yeah! We haven't done this before, but we're gonna talk about usability testing cheap and dirty. So, hi everybody. I know you're My name is Matt. I like to wear hats. I have a curly mustache. But more than anything, I like solving real problems for real people. And hopefully today I inspire you to do the same. You can find me on Twitter at mattplavoy. My website, as I mentioned, is mattplavoy.com. So we're actually going to get started by having a usability test. So today we're learning about usability tests, and sort of my desire here is to prove to you that usability testing is not costly, it's not difficult, it's really, really inexpensive, and you can do it yourself even if you work on a small team or by yourself on a side project and you're not a designer. That's okay. You can still identify some big problems in your application and actually prove whether somebody wants the thing that you're building, and really find if it's going to be valuable for somebody. So I need a volunteer. Saw you first in the back.
Yep.
You have to come on up. Are you comfortable, like, being judged by a bunch of people?
Sure.
Awesome! I'm so glad to hear that. So,
on YouTube.
Judge me.
He's already said he got fired after a month.
So, you'll have to come over here.
Okay.
You are going to be driving.
All right.
So we're going to have a usability session. So we're actually going to forget about all of you. You don't exist. We're having a one-on-one usability session, and then we'll all kind of observe. And as you observe this usability session, please take notes. Take notes about the things that you're observing about the website, the things that you're observing about his behavior, and also don't scream out, don't give away anything, don't say, just click on that thing. Like, whatever you do, don't say anything, because that would be defying the point. So, how are you feeling?
A little nervous, but
Cool.
let's do it.
Thank you so much for volunteering. So you're going to have the controls, and before we actually do anything, this is a usability test session script that is available on the website. You can click on and download, and you can actually facilitate this exact usability test yourself. So, hi, my name is Matt.
My name's Rob.
Nice to meet you, Rob. I'll be facilitating the usability session today. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Excited?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fun to be.
So what's a typical day in your life look like?
Mostly staring at my computer screen trying to get clients.
Okay, trying to get clients.
I do web design, web development, run an agency, kind of stuff. So.
Awesome, very cool. So you spend most of your time throughout the day, at least professionally, on a computer?
Yep.
And then in your spare time at home, in your free?
Catching up on my Netflix shows, hanging out with my kids.
Awesome.
So.
Sounds really great. So the first thing that, actually before we even get to that, we are going to be having a usability session. There's a couple of rules that I have for you. And don't worry, I know rules are usually no fun, but I promise these are really good. So the first rule is you cannot be wrong. No matter what, anything you think, say, feel, or do is entirely the correct thing to do. So don't worry at all while you're hanging out with me. There's nothing at all you can do that's wrong. And
There's a first time for everything.
There are very few moments in life when you just can't do anything wrong, so definitely enjoy it.
All right.
So the second rule is, as much as possible, think out loud. So if I could have a superpower, it would be that I could read your mind, because that way I'll know what things about this interface confuse you, or what things you are maybe making incorrect assumptions about, or what things that you really like. And since I can't read your mind, if you share those things with me, that'll actually be really, really helpful for me to design this so it serves you better. So as much as possible, just think out loud as we go through the tasks. And then the third rule is you're probably going to ask me some questions. And it's not that I don't want to answer your questions, but I can't while we're doing the session. So I still want you to ask them. I'll probably just ask you a question and a response to try to dig in deeper. But know that it's not because I don't want to answer your question. At the end of the session, I'll answer anything that you have.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so we're going to get started. And I'll let you take controls. And the first thing I'd like to ask of you is, this is a website, and I just love what your first impression is.
It's very clean. It's easy to see the labels. The fonts are nice and large. Looks like it's something to do with transit, something to do with public transportation.
Awesome. Cool. So we are going to give you a scenario. And so hopefully the scenario is something that is familiar, not too strange. If it is, tell me and we can change it to make it maybe a more familiar scenario. But the scenario is you're going to a conference. This conference is in Portland. So you've gone and you've booked your flight, you've booked your hotel, and now you're trying to decide, hey, do I need to like rent a car, or can I maybe use the public transit system in Portland to get from the airport to the conference center? So that's the challenge, and so you went ahead and Googled and you pulled up trimet.org, which is Portland's public transit website. So that is sort of the scenario, and the first task that I have for you is using this website. How would you get from the airport to the convention center? Or how would you find out if that's even something you can do? And feel free to grab controls. And
my first inclination is to use search. That's usually the first thing I go to. So the convention center, I don't know the name of it, so I'm just going to ID required. Not sure what ID they're looking for here. ID? Not sure.
Okay.
Line. Okay, well, I'm not doing anything.
The Wi-Fi is a little bit slow, so it might have been loading.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Max. See, I don't know anything about anything there. So I think I'm going to try to look up maps.
Okay.
See what there is. It would have been nice to just type in convention center, see it pop right up. Jeopardy theme song?
So while we wait, I noticed you mentioned you're going to go look for a map. And so what's your thought process saying, like, that is kind of the next step for me?
Basically, I just kind of want to get a lay of the land and see what's, where things are. I believe I've been to Portland before. No, maybe not. I don't remember. We were on a long road trip, and I think we passed through there. But
gotcha. So before you even look at this page, what will be on this page that'll tell you, like, this is what I'm looking for? Like, what are you trying to see?
I'm trying to find just where the convention center is so that I can kind of get oriented to where things are in Portland.
Perfect.
So there's 3 different maps here. There's a TriMet system map, a Portland City Center map, and a rail system map. So I'm going to have to guess that the convention center is fairly close to the Portland City Center.
Okay.
So I'm going to look at the PDF on that. This reminds me of 1996. Minus the screeching dial.
Yeah. Apologies for the slow internet speeds.
It's everybody else's fault.
So actually, we'll take advantage of this and kind of keep digging into your mindset. So what are you expecting to see on the other side of this loading?
Just a map that I can zoom in on.
Okay.
If I see that it said it was going to be a PDF, but it's actually a PNG file. Zoom in on it. Whoa, I've zoomed too far. That's really hard to read. I'm having a hard time moving around. Especially on a device that doesn't have a regular mouse, but I'm just guessing how to do it. Well, I'm going to have to go all over the place looking for this.
So, kind of what you were expecting to see, how similar or different is this to that picture you had in your head while we were waiting on it to load?
Well, the picture I had in my head was something like Google Maps. Like,
Gotcha,
where you can just get in and you just say, I want to go from point A to point B, and then it just lets you choose, how you want to get there. Whether you want to walk, or you want to bike, take transit, or whatever. This is nothing like that. This is something that's quite difficult to use, actually. I would probably leave at this point and just go straight over to Google Maps and say, they know better.
Gotcha. So we'll kind of take a step back, and one more time, kind of the task at hand is trying to determine if it's actually possible for us to get from the airport to the convention center using public transit. Okay. So kind of thinking about that problem, thinking about that task, is there maybe another way you would try? And I know you already mentioned you would give up, which is totally appropriate and fine, but we'll give it one more shot if there was one other way that you could maybe try to go about doing that.
I'd probably look at stops and stations and see if the airport is one of the stations or one of the stops, and then just see where it takes me from there. I mean, there's the trip planner, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say find stops and stations near airport. Portland Airport International. Okay, so find stops and stops near Portland Airport. Lots of street names that I'm unfamiliar with. No visuals, at least not immediately. and all I can do is show more stops, which doesn't help. So I'm probably just gonna hit back from here. I mean, I just wanna see something jump out at me that says, yeah, you're at the airport and there are these major destination names, like Convention Center or Aquarium or something, just
Totally.
these cross streets don't help at all.
No, that definitely makes sense.
Okay.
So we'll kind of stop here. So that's kind of the end of my questions for this usability section. And just to kind of wrap it up, I'd love to hear kind of, is there anything that you wished you saw in this interface, but it wasn't there? Something you wished was there, but it isn't? Or you didn't find it?
My flip answer is that I wish it was Google Maps.
Perfect. Yeah, that's absolutely perfect.
Because it's what I always turn to because I know they've done the UI right, or maybe it's just that I'm used to it. I don't know. Other people may find it difficult, but I wish it was Google Maps. But the more involved answer would be I wish there was something to kind of hold my hand. Where are you now? Where do you want to go? Or where are you going to start? Where are you going to end up?
Yeah.
At least give me a starting point because I know I'm going to be at the airport. Let me just put that in, and then let me put in the convention center, and then you tell me how I can get to those different places. Again, like
perfect. And so, kind of out of everything that you saw, if there was one, what was your favorite feature?
I don't really think I had a favorite feature. I think
That's
I was just
totally
frustrated
okay.
the whole time.
And so my final question is, was there anything that frustrated you?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Perfect. Do you have any final questions for me
No,
before we wrap up?
That's good.
Thank you so much for your time. Here is a gift.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
$5 coffee. Yes. I totally spaced on your name. I'm so sorry. Rob.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Rob. Let's hear it again for Rob. So this is the third time I've facilitated this usability session. I'm not at all associated with TriMet in any way. I think they're probably the best public transit system in the entire United States. I think they're amazing. I went to Portland. You pay for the day and you can go anywhere in the entire city. But their website is very interesting, right? And it's not that they don't care. It's not that they're not trying to serve Rob well or me well. In fact, they very much do want to serve us well. Like, that's how they make money. In fact, so this is trimet.org, and I would probably venture that a lot of the people that go to this website are people that are coming into the city and don't want to rent a car. That was my situation in the time. There's probably plenty of people that are in Portland that don't need to use this website because they've already familiarized themselves with TriMet, or they have the app installed, right? So there's probably an argument that I can make that they should be designing for tourists that are coming into Portland, or people that are maybe unfamiliar with the area. So our challenge, how do you, and Rob, don't feel bad, because I'm about to give away some answers. Don't feel bad at all.
No.
So like I said, I've tested this 3 times. One was at the Downtown UX Meetup, where it was actually facilitated by somebody else as we were going through a different version of this talk. Another was to my wife last night, and again, so this was the 3rd time, and no one has been able to solve this problem. And in fact, it's really easy. You go to Trip Planner, and I'll type in airport, and there's Portland International Airport, and then I'll type in Convention Center, and then there's the Oregon Convention Center, and then I can hit get directions, which is going to give me, actually I'll just hit it so you see. And it's like super confusing. It's just like a couple of lines, and again, it's not Google Maps. Like, this is not what. And so when we tested this at Ducks, it was just like, this isn't what I'm looking for. And somebody else actually was just like, I just want to see an interactive map. I want to see that Google Map experience. And so if I go back, you'll see there's this little checkbox that I can check, which is like super hidden and nobody notices. And if I hit that and say get directions, it's actually going to take me to an interactive map that's very Google Maps-esque, arguably not as good. It doesn't look like they use the Google Maps API. But they like have these features, right? They've invested so much time into these features and our customers aren't seeing them because it's confusing. And it's frustrating, and we're just getting angry, and it takes a long time to load because we're on slow Wi-Fi, but it takes a long time to load even if you're not on slow Wi-Fi, which is also part of the experience. So I kind of wanted to go through this exercise just to show you this is what a usability session looks like, and it didn't take very long. I wrote that script just by going to trimet.org and trying to use it myself, and like what would be a task I would want to accomplish here. So I'm not like I said, I'm not a designer for their website, and I'm not intimately familiar with their features, but then I just tried to learn it myself. And as I tried to learn it myself, I personally was frustrated. And so it's sort of a really good example of like, when we first got here, actually, so these are the notes that I took while we were doing that usability session. And the first thing Rob said was, looks clean. I think you might have said it looked well designed. I don't know if you did or not. Yeah. So it's like, this is something where somebody did put some design effort into. They do want it to look nice. They do want it to be usable. Obviously, they built these features out for a reason, but we had so much frustration for 10 minutes just trying to figure out how can we get from the airport to the convention center. And if you know what to do, it's really easy. And that's sort of the problem. Because when we build applications, when we design applications ourselves, obviously we know what to do. Because we built it, we designed it, we know exactly how it works. So we're not surprised that, I knew how to do that. And so I did it in just a few seconds. I pulled this up, and that's exactly what Rob might have. Was this what you were looking for, Rob?
That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah. So in a few seconds, I solved the problem. But Rob, for 10 minutes, was totally confused because he didn't design it. He's not familiar with it. And so we got to be thinking about who we're designing for. I think there's this kind of mindset that happens like, man, if somebody doesn't know how to use something I built, and this is a mindset I've been guilty for, so there's no judgment here if this is your mindset. But it's like, man, somebody doesn't understand, man, gosh, they're so stupid. They're late adopters. They're technically technology inept, or they're not smart people. A lot of times, we are very judgmental when people find friction in the things that we've designed or made because we love the things we designed or made. Oftentimes, it's like, this is my baby. If I had designed this, I might have been in my head screaming at Rob, friggin' just click on this one button, man. It's right there. But it's not Rob's fault he didn't see that button. It's the design's fault he didn't see that button. But that design should be serving Rob because he is the customer. And like I said, I've done this 3 times, and all 3 times, everybody was baffled. So it's not Rob that's confused or Rob that's stupid. It's the design that's not designed as good as it could be to serve the customer. And I'm definitely saying, I love TriMet. TriMet is an awesome public transit network. And I think their designers really do want to serve Rob. They put in a lot of effort to make that website look great. I think their website looks really good. But there's just a couple of, they've got all the features he's looking for. They've thought about what he wants, what he needs. They just haven't connected those dots. They haven't seen Rob struggle with their website, right? So let's get back to the presentation. Actually, let's start the presentation. How about that? Right. So user experience design and research helps us do 2 things. The first is it helps us to reduce the friction in our experiences. So that's what we saw. We saw all of this friction. And then the second is it actually helps us to reduce the risk and gain confidence that we're building the right thing. How often have you guys worked on a project, or maybe a side project or an app or something even for your company, where it's just we're going to ship this and we don't know if our customers even want it. We're building out this feature and we don't know if it's actually do people actually need this? Or you ship a feature and then nobody's using the feature we just spent 6 months working on. Has that ever happened? You don't have to raise your hands, but has that ever happened to you? I think I see some eye contact of recognition, and that's so unfortunate. And it's we don't have to have that happen. We can know, user experience very much, even if you're not an expert in user experience, anybody could have facilitated that session. Yes, it definitely does take some soft skills. It does take some practice with your wife. I'll talk about, or your significant other, whatever. I'll talk about that later. But it's not that difficult, and it doesn't cost that much to identify all of these big friction points in our design, because we're asking our customers or asking our users to go on this journey and pay us while they're doing it. And if that journey is full of these speed bumps, they're going to bail out. It's not enough to just solve a problem anymore. TriMet's website totally solves a problem, but we already know, Rob would have bailed out and gone to Google Maps, which would have been fine. And it's public transit. Google Maps has public transit information. He could have typed in the airport to the convention center. I want to use public transit. And Google Maps would have solved this problem. But now, are they just wasting their time? What is the... So it's they want people to use their system so that they can tailor and create that experience. And a lot of times we want people to use our system because they pay us to, right? So how can we get from this bumpy roadmap to this smoother thing? And so what I'm going to teach you today is how to do what we just did, facilitate a usability session. And you might not be able to, because there's more than just identifying the friction points, you actually have to solve them. And so like, I'm not gonna say without having a design team or without having a dedicated user experience designer, you're gonna get to the flattest road possible. You probably still have some friction points, but if you can get rid of these huge friction points, and a lot of times, like that, I mean, every single one of us in this room is probably coming up with solutions like, oh man, if we just moved that checkbox over, he would have seen it. Or, you know, if he was on that screen. Or like, that was my wife's issue last night. She was just like, that freaking checkbox. Like, once I showed it to her, she was like so angry. She was like, I was on the screen and I didn't see that dang checkbox. And that was all I wanted, was that freaking map. Pardon my frickins. Anyways, let's keep going. How am I doing on time? Hey, pretty good. So what's usability testing? Well, it's what we just saw. But to kind of think a little bit more, I don't know, just kind of bullet pointed out, it's the practice of evaluating a product by testing it on users. And then, so there's different ways to do it. Users can interact with a product, a prototype, or a wireframe. So I do usability tests all the time that are literally, one note, like drawings. Oh, where's my pen? They're like literally drawings. This is useless. I'm sorry. If I had my pen, I would do a drawing of an interface. Right? Oh, wait, there was one. There was totally a drawing of Google that I did. So like, I will test this. Like something maybe a little bit cleaner than this, but like that is a prototype for Google. Like I could say, hey, what do you think this is for? How would you interact with it? And maybe there needs to be a little bit more detail to the drawing, sure. But like I've done that before. It's called paper prototyping. It's super cheap. It does not take long to draw a picture of a website. You can do it in a couple of minutes, and you can iterate on it so quickly because it doesn't matter. You didn't invest a lot of time into it. So we can have users interact with anything. Like it can be a finished working thing out in production, like we did today with Rob. It can be a prototype, like something that we've made in a product like Balsamic or Azure. Not Microsoft Azure. There's a prototyping tool called Azure. There's a lot of confusion when we talk with developers. So it's really like you can go anywhere in between, right? It all matters on how you can do it as cheap as possible. Like really, it's like how lazy can we be and find out what our friction points are? Because that's being lean, that's being smart with our time. Like we don't need to do these intensive studies to get this value. Like we're not following a scientific method. We just need to get to figuring out what the heck the friction points are with our feature or our product, like as fast as we can so we can fix them. And so tests are typically based on a series of tasks. So you saw that I actually had a lot more tasks, but we didn't get past the first one, which is totally okay. So like we'll have like a series of tasks. Like my next task was going to be how much will it cost you? How long will it take you to get from the airport to the convention center, and how much will it cost you? So that was my next question, and we didn't get to ask it because we never answered the first question, right? And sometimes that happens in sessions where you just identify a user experience issue that's so big, you're just like, well, this is what we got to focus on. And then finally, we typically gather qualitative feedback through user research. And it's really hard to get quantitative feedback. Like you can do it, and you can do it with some tools. You can use eye tracking, you can use heat maps. You can do all of these ways to get quantitative feedback as well. But typically, like we're talking about fast, cheap, dirty usability testing. We don't care about that stuff. We just want to identify what are the biggest friction points, because we don't need to get everything smoothed out. We just need to make sure somebody doesn't abandon ship, because we want them to use our product. We want them to give us their money or whatever it is our goal, why ever we're investing in this app. Like maybe it's like I'm doing an open source app and I'm giving it away for free, but I'm still like I want people to use it, right? So like what's the friction points that'll prevent somebody from being able to use it? So usability testing methods. So we've got a bunch of different ones. Gorilla, I know this isn't that Gorilla, I know. But hey, it's memorable, right? So Gorilla usability testing is like literally sort of what we did right now. And I've done it in Starbucks before. I've done it in Drunken Monkey. Like you can go to a coffee shop and you can say, hey, I'll buy you a coffee if you give me 10 minutes of your time. Because people are there to buy coffee, and if they have 10 minutes, that's a pretty good exchange. And they sit down and you can give them a task and they can click around on your app or on your website, and you can get a ton of feedback that way. And you don't want to like harass people or make people uncomfortable, but it's a really great way to get feedback if somebody's willing to give it to you. And then hallway is sort of like, you can walk down the hallway. Like if you work in a co-working space like Canvas or something like that, you can just turn around and like say like, hey man, can you give me some feedback on this? So that can be a really great way to get feedback as well. You just have to make sure it's not somebody that works on your team because they know how it works. They help design it. Like they understand it, so it's not going to be a good usability test. Sometimes service desk, like if you work in a big company, service desk people can be awesome to do some hallway usability testing on. You can't really treat it as customer feedback, but it can be great to like vet, is this usability test right? Like, am I asking the right questions? Am I not leading? Things like that. Think out loud. That's probably what I would define as pretty much most usability sessions are think out loud usability sessions. So it's basically what I was asking Rob to do is like think out loud as you interact with this. And it's very much a one-on-one personal thing. A lot of times usability sessions I do are like about a 45-minute thing with a customer. A lot of times I'll use GoToMeetings so that, because they're all over the United States, so we can kind of do it virtually that way. So that's kind of just like a term that I've heard it defined with, but really when I just think of usability sessions or usability testing, like that's what I think about. Automated, so there's some websites out there that you can do automated usability tests with. So it says, I'll pay this website or this service however much to say, this is my website, these are the questions I have, get me users and do the testing, and then they'll send you back a video with a webcam and a screen cap and audio of that person, doing that usability session. And you can get a lot of good feedback out of that. You can miss out on the opportunities to dig in. So like there was a couple of moments, especially like when it was loading, like I was able to ask Rob some questions to really dig into that and gain a deeper understanding than if I had the questions prepared and it was kind of delivered by a robot. But it can be a totally valid and appropriate way to do it. And then A/B multivariate. So I could have prototypes of different designs. Like maybe I have I don't know what the better way to do it is. I've got an A and a B, and I can actually do that with Rob and say like, okay, well, here's option 1, here's option 2, and see which one he connects with more, which one he understands better. And that can actually be a great way to solve arguments, right? Like, I don't care if I'm right or you're right. The button should be here, the button should be there. The button should be red, the button should be green. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not at all about your ego. Like, design does not care about you. It cares about the customers. Like, it's right if the customer understands how to use it. And so a really great way to solve arguments like that is just like, well, let's just test it. Let's put it in front of some users and see which of these designs actually connects better with the user, which of them they have to make less guesses about. So that can be a really great way to test. And actually you get a lot more honest feedback when you do an A/B test, because the person who's giving you the feedback, if they know you designed it, sometimes will hold their tongue a little bit. But if you're like, I really just want honest feedback and here's an A and here's a B, that can be maybe a little bit more critical to A, because there's more options there. It's an interesting psychological thing that happens. Whew. All right, 20 minutes left. How's everybody doing? I'm a little thirsty. I talk really fast, so if you need me to stop or explain anything, or if maybe I'm like lingering on something and you're like, we get it, you can tell me to move on. So why do usability testing? I think that example was probably the best argument I could have made. And if that didn't connect with you or that didn't resonate with you, that's okay. But hopefully it did. Hi, thank you so much for watching this video. Sorry for the abrupt ending. It was sort of an experiment, actually. I was talking with the audience right before the session started about YouTube and who does good user experience videos on YouTube, and I realized maybe I should try. So I sort of asked them if they wanted to be part of an experiment and if we should make a YouTube video together, and everybody was all about it. So this is, you're seeing the result right now. So learned that my phone only likes to take 30-minute videos. So sorry you didn't get the whole thing. I'm going to put some links down below to the whole presentation, so you can check that out. And from there, you can also click on the link to download the sample usability session script that I've written and the scenarios that I used for this session, as well as another scenario that you can use for an A/B test. So you can try out kind of facilitating some usability sessions for yourself. Thank you so much. And thank you to Orlando Code Camp 2016. It was an amazing experience. As Orlando Code Camp, just a fantastic conference. Really enjoyed it. Everybody was super welcoming. And thank you to everybody that came to my session. And thank you for watching. Bye.